On the news, terrorists released 23 remaining Kaduna train attack victims. Appeal court challenges federal government in ASUU to resolve strike dispute out of justice system. And Minister of Education commends teachers' commitment and selflessness despite unfavorable and intolerable policies. Well, glad to have you join us on News Now. I am Mary Kanu. After 191 days in the den of kidnappers, terrorists on Wednesday freed 23 remaining captives of the Kaduna train attack. Secretary of the Chief of Defense Staff Action Committee, Usman Yusuf, disclosed this on Wednesday. Yusuf said the hostages were released at about 4 p.m. on Wednesday. He said that the committee secured and took custody of the victims who were kidnapped by Boko Haram terrorists during an attack on a passenger train in Kaduna on March 28, 2022. The legal tussle between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, took a different dimension on Wednesday when a three-member panel of justices of the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja admonished counsel in the matter to meet and discuss out-of-court settlement of the dispute. ASUU, which has been on strike since February this year, last week appealed the ruling of the National Industrial Court, which ordered the university lecturers to return to the classroom pending the determination of the suit. The federal government filed to query the legality of their strike action. While hearing the appeal by ASUU, counsel to ASUU Femi Falana moved his application dated September 28th, seeking the stay of execution of the ruling of the National Industrial Court and to also set it aside, while counsel to the federal government, James Igwe, objected on the ground that the federal government has not been served with the application.
They filed an application on the 23rd of September, which they withdrew today. They also filed another one on the 28th of September, asking the court for a stay of execution of the judgment of the National Industrial Court, and also asking for leave to appeal, permission to appeal. Okay? All right, there is no appeal yet. They're asking for permission to appeal, and there is no stay of execution yet. They're asking for stay of execution. And that's what they're asking for in both applications.
While we are asking for alternative dispute resolution, the government, through the Ministry of Labor, is going on the path of war, which cannot be justified under the law. I'm sure you are aware, contrary to the Trade Union Act, which provides that there shall be only one trade union in any sector of the economy. In other words, you cannot have two unions of academic staff in Nigeria under the Trade Union Act, and the law has not been amended. The whole purpose of the Trade Union Act is to stop mushrooming of trade unions in the country. So the government has registered two new unions of academic staff, contrary to the provisions of the Trade Union Act. We can only wish them success.
Still in education, the federal government, through the Minister of Education, Adamu, has hailed teachers for not embarking on strike. Speaking during the ceremony to commemorate the 2022 World Teachers' Day celebration in Abuja, Adamu explained that teachers embrace the principle of constructive engagement, which has helped to keep students in school amidst relegation of welfare. The minister also highlighted some of the successes of the present administration, which include the increment in the retirement age of teachers to 65 years to retain experienced hands and institutionalized mentoring in the profession. He added that under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, the curriculum has been revamped, while the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission has completed work on the reviewed remuneration package for teachers in basic and secondary schools. In Lagos, state teachers in the state have been charged to remain committed in preserving the legacy of the noble profession. Governor of the state, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, gave the charge at the 2022 World Teachers' Day celebration in Lagos. While lauding teachers for their passion and hard work towards molding future leaders, Governor Sanwo-Olu announced the approval of a pay rise for teachers in the state, with the promise to implement new welfare packages for the teachers. Our correspondent, Simisola Adigun, completes the story.
Although the teaching profession is regarded as one of the most noble, it is the least appreciated. As education is key to achieving global goals, every October 5 is set aside to celebrate the critical role of teachers in driving the educational sector. Celebrating the 2022 World Teachers' Day in Lagos, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu says the government remains committed to increasing their capacity and exposure with fresh teaching skills.
As a teacher-friendly government, we have developed various initiatives together to enhance teaching profession and further motivate our teachers. To demonstrate the premium emphasis which are placed on your career and on your career progression, teachers in Lagos State now have their promotion exercise annually without further delay. We will continue to make massive investment at improving the capacity and welfare of our school personnel. We want to make ICT compliant. We want to make our schools, all of them ICT compliant. We want to expose our teachers to international best practices, as well as ensuring that our schools become a destination of learning and equal skills transfer.
While appreciating teachers for their impact, the Commissioner for Education in Lagos State, Folashade Adefisayo, encouraged them to remain devoted in contributing their quota towards nation building.
We are in local parenting, and what does a parent do? Number one, a parent loves their children. No matter what, fine, not fine, tall, short, dark, troublesome, anything, any child that God has given you to teach, you owe that child a duty of love. That's number one. And then the other things, you teach them, you assess their learning, you support them through emotional difficulties, you help them in their path in life, you advise, you admonish, but don't ever forget, you are doing the best job anybody can do.
The chairman, Nigerian Union of Teachers, Lagos State Wing, who thanked the state governor for prioritizing the welfare of teachers in the state, said the objective of the union remains to protect teachers' rights and oppose measures that are inimical to their interest.
We are enjoying what number one could not enjoy in terms of huge investment on education. Our number that ought to have been a disadvantage, rather under this administration has been a source of strength. That same value necessitated the presence of His Excellency here, not that he has that luxury of time.
As the global community takes steps to revitalize national and global efforts, nations have been urged to address issues such as shortage of teachers, poor working conditions of teachers, and lack of recognition of teachers' professional status. Simisola Adigun, TV360, Lagos.
The Federal Executive Council, FEC, has approved the proposed 19.76 trillion naira budget for the 2023 fiscal year. Special advisor to the President, Femi Adesina, disclosed this after the hybrid council meeting, which was presided over by President Buhari at the State House in Abuja. Adesina said Buhari would present the budget proposal before a joint sitting of the National Assembly on Friday, October 7th.
In which the budget proposals for 2023 was presented and discussed at length. That budget proposal will be taken to the National Assembly on Friday morning by Mr. President. So it will not be proper to begin to discuss the content of what will be officially presented on Friday. So that is the information I have for us. that we won't have the traditional briefing of what happened at the council, because it's about a budget that will be presented on Friday morning. We want to give the National Assembly that honor of receiving it first.
The Nigerian Senate, through its Joint Committee on Petroleum Resources, is suggesting the removal of petroleum subsidy that will see the price of petrol rise to 280 naira per litre as part of measures to make the activities of smugglers of the products less profitable. The committee, through its chairman, Senator Sabo Nakudu, made this submission at an interactive session with Mele Kyari, the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. In his contribution, a member of the committee, Senator Basi Akpan, called for a law making all theft a capital offense.
In as much as you said some countries are trying to introduce subsidy into their system at the moment, our own is just too much. It's too much. Why don't you liaise with relevant authorities and try and bring this subsidy issue, at par with neighboring countries? Because if you can buy a liter of petrol in Cameroon at 300 naira, you should be able to buy it at 280 naira in Nigeria.
It is an unfortunate situation that we have found ourselves. Because you have said something here, and I want us to also reason along those lines. I'm not here to commend the military for anything, because the Navy is in charge of our territorial waters. And if we had been part of that team that we visited the terminals, we made to understand that as part of the procedures for oil lifting, the Navy is notified. They're notified because they give clearances to every, what do we call that in the carries oil? Is it cargo or what? Tankers.
Reacting to the call for subsidy removal, the NNPC board said that it was solely within the powers of the executive and not for the oil company to decide. Kerry informed the committee that the scale of vandalism and oil theft is more serious than imagined, and this is affecting production quota and the attendant ripple effects.
The act of vandals and thieves have brought down our production from what we knew last year to today, hovering around 1.2 million barrels per day. Mr. Chairman, it is not true also, let me clarify, that it is not true that the difference between 1.2 million barrels and our potential budget level of 1.8 is stolen, no. Because of the act of vandals, Mr. Chairman, our major trunk line, the Trans-Namibia 5 line, the NCTL, were all shut down. Because no one will continue to produce when you know that those production will not get to the terminals. And to be very precise, Chairman, we have never seen this level of escalation throughout our operations. Yes, there were issues around oil theft. There are issues around vandals. In the last 20 to 22 years, it didn't start today, no doubt, Chairman. But I can confirm to you that the scale that we are seeing today is not precedented.
The wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, has urged the federal government to prioritize the mental health of military personnel in the country. The First Lady made the call at the groundbreaking and foundation-laying ceremony for an exceptional post-trauma stress disorder center in Abuja. Our correspondent Emeka Amako compiled this report from Abuja.
Owing to the exposure to war zones, military personnel often fall victim of post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), which creates a feeling of inadequacy and fear. To this end, the Defense and Police Officers' Wives Association, DPOA, has flagged off the construction of the Armed Forces Post-Traumatic Service Disorder Center in Abuja. During the foundation-laying ceremony, wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, applauded the leadership of DPOA for the initiative, pledging to ensure its completion before the tenure of the present administration elapses.
This center is timely as it is a problem that really deserves a solution and of this nature, and providing facilities and services for testing, treatment, and rehabilitation of patients is key. Therefore, fundraising is not a solution. The solution is the federal government that send them to fight that send them to the war front to take responsibility in taking care of their families and also taking care of their mental health after returning from the war front.
Earlier, in a welcome remarks, the Depower president, Vicky Irabo, said the project was informed by a past experience of being married to a service personnel and stories from the barracks community.
When completed, the center will help evaluate, counsel, and provide adequate support to personnel and, by extension, their families before reintegration from conflict zones. It will also help to enhance national, regional, and global stability, as well as help boost military capability to continue to deal with all forms of insecurity.
On his part, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, says men and women of the armed forces remain the first beneficiaries of the center, saying the project would also be of high value to all Nigerians.
This project has to be enduring, has to be a legacy project, a project, of course, that will indeed transcend the regimes and transcend, of course, the life of those of us that are still serving, and even while in retirement, it will also be of good to us. And because it is of high value to Nigerians, I would like to ask or encourage that we donate generously so that your soldiers, so that your personnel, your policemen, and men and women that are in uniform will be able to perform optimally from the right emotional, giving the right emotional balance that indeed will be gained from the services that will be provided at this center.
Some foreign parliamentarians at the event spoke highly of the initiative, while also assuring of their unflinching support.
Well, we'll take a break here, but still to come, World Bank projects 102% increase in debt service to revenue ratio for Nigeria. Details of this story and more right after this break. Welcome back. Now here is a recap of some of our top stories tonight. After 191 days in the den of kidnappers, terrorists on Wednesday freed 23 remaining captives of the Kaduna train attack. Secretary of the Chief of Defense Staff Action Committee, Usman Yusuf, disclosed this on Wednesday. Yusuf said the hostages were released at about 4 p.m. on Wednesday. We also told you that the legal tussle between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities took a different dimension on Wednesday when a three-member panel of justices of the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja admonished counsel in the matter to meet and discuss out-of-court settlement of the dispute. ASUU, which has been on strike since February this year, last week appealed the ruling of the National Industrial Court, which ordered the university lecturers to return to the classroom pending the determination of a suit. The federal government filed to query the legality of their strike action. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. And now to COVID-19 stories and updates. A public inquiry into Britain's response to handling the COVID-19 pandemic got underway on Tuesday with a promise it will get to the truth and expose any wrongdoing or culpable conduct. Britain has recorded almost 20 million COVID-19 infections and more than 166,000 deaths. And former Prime Minister Boris Johnson and his ministers have faced criticism for their handling of the crisis. Last year, Johnson ordered the inquiry to look into the preparedness of the country as well as the public health and economic response. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has estimated that nearly 13% of the circulating coronavirus variants in the United States were of the BA.4/6 subvariant Omicron. The latest data show that the BA.4/6, which has been rising slowly in the last few weeks, is nearly 22% of the cases in the region. The United States has begun a new COVID vaccination campaign, with Omicron tailoring boosters from Pfizer, BioNTech and Moderna, which are likely to be effective. We'll take another break and return with business updates.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Glad to have you back. Well, Folashade Ogurinde now joins us for the latest in the world of business. Folashade, what's the latest?
Well, many thanks, Mary. And in business, the World Bank has said that public debt to Nigeria is worrisome due to the rise in debt service to revenue ratio. The Washington-based bank said this in its latest Africa's Pulse report, adding that economic growth was subdued in Nigeria, with annual growth slowing from 3.6% in the first quarter of 2022 to 3.4% in the second quarter. According to the bank, the growth was affected by the underperformance of the oil sector. The Ethiopian government has scrapped visas on arrival for Nigerians with immediate effect. The Ethiopian government added that travelers would need to obtain their visas at its embassy in Abuja before embarking on any trip to the country. The development comes barely 2 weeks after Ethiopian Airlines emerged as a core investor in Nigeria Air, the country's national carrier, with 49% shareholding. I will take a breather here and return with a review of the stock market. Sadly, it's another negative close on Wednesday as stocks dropped further to 0.09% due to bearish sentiment and short trading weeks. At the close of trading session, the all-share index also depreciated from preceding trading days' highs to 48,836 basis points, with market capitalization standing at 26 trillion naira. Now, bottom losers on the traders list are Cadbury Nigeria and Northern Nigeria Flour Mills with a loss of 19 naira. The introduction of the Gerego power plant raised the gainers list with 110 naira, with multiverse mining. Both shares gained 114 naira 14 kobo. Meanwhile, at the end of today's trading, we see that 135 volume of shares valued at 2.21 billion naira exchange hands in 4,041 deals. Now let's take a look at how the global stocks performed, shall we? So we see here that the stocks fell as recent risk on sentiment reversed, with the euro and sterling down more than 1% each. So select foreign stocks sees UK's FTSE and US Dow Jones are down by 0.48% and 0.92% each. Meanwhile, Japan stocks were higher after the close on Wednesday, as gains on gas and water, power and chemical, petroleum and plastic sectors led shares higher to 0.48%. And that's it on Business News. It's back to you, Mary, for the rest of the news.
Many thanks for the updates for today. Moving on now to the global scene, the World Health Organization says 63 confirmed and probable cases have been reported in the Ebola outbreak in Uganda, including 29 deaths. WHO Chief Tedros ASUU said the vaccines used to curb recent outbreaks in the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo were not effective against the type of Ebola virus circulating in Uganda. The WHO boss added that the Uganda outbreak was taking a toll on health workers. And now in sports, former Nigeria captain Mikel Obi says picking Chelsea over Manchester United in a highly controversial transfer in 2006 was the best decision of his career. The midfielder, who retired last week at the age of 35, was the subject of a bitter dispute between the Red Devils and the Blues in 2005 before signing for the latter the following year. His decision to move to London, having initially signed for the Manchester side from Norwegian club Lyn Oslo, ultimately proved rewarding. Mikel became one of the club's most decorated players, winning the Champions League, Europa League, 2 Premier Leagues, 2 League Cups and 4 FA Cups in an 11-year spell, which ended when he left Stamford Bridge in 2017. That's the latest of on our news bulletin this evening. Many thanks for staying with us. I am Mary Kanu. Bye for now.